Hey everybody, good to see you for the first time tonight. This is the Gundam Explained podcast, episode 72. Currently live on Twitch and Facebook, too, which is pretty cool. If you happen to join a little early, we're doing some behind the scenes. Still trying to figure this out. I got with Wirecast about some of the issues, and they're like, you're going to have to play around with it. And I was like, okay. I was told not to do that, but, you know. No, but...
Yeah, it's easy to say that to somebody who's like, I'm kind of trying to put on a show here. It's like...
I know. It's random. And even, like, looking up things on YouTube, you know, people tend to say, hey, it's kind of... But you know what? We're going to get this... Even Goose says part of the charm is... all these technical difficulties, but I can't stand it anymore. No. I mean, because speaking of that, the G-Watch episode 2 is out. So if you are a supporter, you can have access to that. And yeah, there were some technical difficulties on that. It's still clear and you can hear everything, but it's not to the standards that I want. So just let you guys know, I'm always going to be working on the quality. But you know what? Let's talk about Gundam. Yeah, Steven, thanks for joining, as always. Yesterday on your show, we were talking about the... who we're actually going to talk about today, Vincent Gleissner's high mobility Zaku that you're customizing with 3D printed parts.
Yeah, working on that Gunpla sort of resin conversion kit that hopefully will be ready by Christmas, you know, knock on wood. But yeah, I'm excited to do a little chat about the character himself, the man, the
cool.
myth, the legend.
Yeah, especially since you're a fan of him. But so yeah, it was cool. Yesterday, Steven's channel, links in the description. Tons of fun, and always fun to talk with the people in chat, just like right now. Ian Goose, Jedi Sayla, Zionic Shadow, Lucas Garrett. I know I saw Neon Wave in there. I don't want to miss anyone. Yeah, if I missed you, you can email me a complaint and I will read it live. I don't mind. Because I want to give everyone a chance, right? Because it's not good to be shunned and banned. Oh, Gundam Wing's in there. Good to see you. So, hey, Zionic, you're saying the VG. Am I missing something? What's the VG?
The Vincent Gleissner.
Oh, my first thought was video game, and I'm like, yeah, I'll play video game.
Yeah, let's do it. Game on.
But speaking
Got
of
my
that,
PS3 right here. Let's do it.
Good idea, actually. Let's park that. But I was going to say real quick, Evil West. I don't know if you guys have heard of that game. It's a really cool, like, 360 era shooter that's out right now. It's pretty fun.
I love it.
But, so real quick, I wanted to talk about something crazy. I made that cool video. I think it's cool. I had so much fun making it. It just came to me, that Star Wars video, because, like, Andor was over. And I saw people posting, like, what to watch after Andor. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's Universal Century Gundam, of course. So I made a video explaining that. Kind of explaining how, like, these are things that are similar. And what was interesting was I was like, okay, let's, you know, part of the goal with this channel is really just to make Gundam more popular here in the West. Just for it to pop up as much as Star Wars does. That might be hard to do, but... I posted on the Star Wars subreddit, which I never really do. I read there a lot, but I posted... the video to be like, hey guys, I know Andor's done. Gundam has that verisimilitude, that groundedness. This would be awesome. Here's my video where I explain everything. And then I got banned, but not just banned, perma-banned, permanently banned from the Star Wars subreddit.
Look out, the Jannies are coming.
Which, it's weird because on one hand, you know, it's fine. I don't need to be posting there, and I rarely do. But on the other hand, that's just kind of sad. That's just like how... Obviously, I'm an excited fan. I wasn't posting anything about toxicity. I wasn't complaining about anything. I was posting my excitement. And someone saw that, even though they told me it was for self-promotion spam, one, what is self-promotion nowadays? Everyone that is online is making content to a degree and wanting to share that. And the post I made wasn't spam. I was asking questions. I was putting details in there. So I replied to the admin, and I was like, hey, you know, could you please explain how this is considered spam? And then he just said, read the rules, and then muted me. And I was like, damn. And so it just makes me think, like, I was someone that was excited to share something, to, like, share, I love Star Wars, I love Gundam. I wanted to, like, this is the perfect place to be like, hey, guys, this is going to make you as excited, but you get shut down. And, like... I mean, I could understand if it was like, hey, that is actually really considered self-promotion. We're just going to delete the post. I would be like, okay, I get it.
But
I
not
get it.
even a warning. Not
No,
not a, not a temporary ban, a permanent
not at all.
ban on
I
first offense, like out of the gate.
I
You know,
know.
it kind of makes you wonder if people even want these communities to grow, if that's the way that they're going to
Yeah.
treat people.
Well, the other part of it too is, from my understanding, this is something I was looking more into a few years ago, is that Disney has control over the Star Wars subreddit, and so I wonder if they just kind of have a zero tolerance policy, maybe just in general. That's kind of a
Possibly
corporate
so.
thing to do. But what's interesting is right now a lot of social media that's being done is by these tech companies that started with social media. So when government agencies are wanting to put forth regulations, they go to Twitter, Facebook, whatever. The thing is, a company like Disney is a media company. Like, they make movies and stuff. So then, if they have the capacity to control a community or a group, that's where it gets scary. There's this then thing where again, a corporation has more rights than a person technically, so you can get away with a lot of things. But then,
It's
if
true.
you go one step further, and corporations can silence people at a larger degree than the government, I mean, I feel like we're seeing where this is going. It's
Oh yeah. And I
um,
mean, Chad agrees with you. Everyone says like that's how Reddit is. Reddit is a dying platform.
it's
Reddit is toxic,
interesting.
and I agree. Reddit's a terrible. To put it as the late great Graham Chapman once said in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. On second thought, let's not go there. It's a silly place.
Not That's good. Yeah, you know what? And that's what's interesting. When I backed off social media, that's when I decided to use Reddit, because I went to specifically go, okay, Star Wars subreddit, meditation subreddit, consciousness, like things I'm really interested in, no politics.
Yep.
Um, and so usually there wouldn't be an issue, Scene. Uh oh.
Did I
Okay.
break it?
That was crazy. I think we're back, or we're about to be back. Let's give it a second.
I think we're
So
back.
that was nuts. This whole program I'm using, so I'm gonna have to email them about that, because the 30-day trial is about to be up, and I'm about to drop some cash on this. Um, it crashed, but then I was able to open it back up. I gotta admit, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Uh, yeah, we'll see after this. But anyway, what I wanted to add about that last thing is, I posted the same video on the Gundam subreddit, because I wanted to kind of get an understanding of the like crossover of Gundam fans and Star Wars, and that was such a joyous post, because people were replying with really cool stuff. They were like, "Yeah, I got into Star Wars, and then I got into Gundam, or I like Gundam first, then I found Star Wars, and then the things that they liked that were interesting." I was like, "Wow, that right there, kind of like a light bulb went off in my head. Not really a light bulb, that wouldn't be the right one, but that the Gundam community really is pretty cool. Just for the fact of the contrast of sharing a video on the Star Wars platform, sharing on the Gundam platform, and seeing the reaction. Um,
It's a different energy for sure.
yeah, different energy for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, man, I can't believe I just recovered that. That was pretty scary what happened just then. All right, I'm about to jump into the next topic. I have to rebuild something real quick. Yeah, that should be it. And then, yeah, but this other thing I'm gonna email them about too is it's flashing. So I'm sorry, people. For some reason, sometimes the browser's flashing. And there's Shirt Lad's YouTube. I was testing out one of his videos.
Yeah.
Um,
Friend of the channel.
yeah, definitely. You did an interview with him a few live streams ago. Um, okay, so last week, the last podcast was just a quick like Thanksgiving thing. I didn't really, we didn't really do a live stream. It was like 17 minutes long, so I didn't go through the questions, and I want to grab those.
Yeah,
Here
because
we
there were
go.
some good ones last week.
Yeah, yeah, both on Patreon and YouTube. So, and Steven taught me this. It's a pretty cool trick. Really, you can choose Patreon or YouTube, either one. If you prefer one platform or the other to support, and either one, you can post questions. So, but we have Lucas Garrett here. If you could develop your own Gundam series, what would it be about? And what would make your Gundams and allied enemy mobile suits distinct from what came before? So to make it interesting, I sometimes repeat myself with this stuff. I would say let's almost go like far future, unless this has been done and I don't know about it, and do like extreme crazy tech, like I don't know, quantum tunneling, uh, manipulating the electromagnetic field, so like Gundams on ground could like teleport around and then reappear to like battle real quick and then zip away. I don't know,
Dragon Ball Z style.
something a little different. What about you, Steven? Anything come to mind?
Well, like you know, this is a topic that I think we've talked about before um, a little bit, but I think before we were talking about it in the context of video games, and I think that as far as a series goes, I would draw inspiration from there was an old Marvel Knights comic book series based on Namor, the Submariner, and it was told from the perspective of these guys on a submarine that were sent to go find a wrecked ship, and the Submariner is like this horror story. It's he's not a superhero. He's like a cryptid or a monster or something like that.
Oh,
And
that's a
so
good
I would
idea.
want to have a kind of story like a small squad of Xeon pilots that's going into the jungle to try and recover, a missing unit or something like that. But there's these horror stories about this devilish white mobile suit that strikes down Xeon pilots and really sell the horror
Horror.
aspect of it.
It was like that Incredible Hulk movie where I think he was in Brazil and then he was like in the warehouse, but no one could see him, and then he was just like guys were being like grabbed left and right.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool. Yeah,
I love that stuff.
Brian's mentioned the screen flashing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I, just another ticket I'm gonna call support about. And then I saw something Sayla said. I just have to. She was like, "Well, now it's going to get worse now that China Bob is back as CEO." That's a conversation for another day. I know it is, and I hope I don't derail too much. I just want to say one thing. People are like excited he's back, but he's the one that made Force Awakens be a kind of a reboot style
Yeah.
instead of. So I don't like anything he does, to be honest.
No. I want both the Bobs out. No Bobs. Maybe you can bring in a Bill or a Buck, but no Bobs.
Yeah,
The
there you
Bobs
go.
have proven that Disney cannot be run by a Bob.
Yeah. Oh wow. Um. Okay. Well, that was cool. That was a good one, Lucas, because distinct from what came before, and that's what made me think of that. Like technology like that.
Oh, it looks like I might be a little loud. If you could bring me down a
Oh, a
bit.
little loud. Let's see. I think I know what to do for this.
Speaking of Disney, this is a lot like Han Solo trying to fix the Millennium Falcon while it's in
Dude,
the air.
it's like come on, come on. Hey,
I
I
can
got
fix
it
this.
over here. No, a little loud, huh? You know what? Oh, you know what? Maybe I can modify that. Here, let's see,
All right,
guys.
let me know if I'm still coming in too loud, guys.
Yeah, nothing I can do about that. It could be that maybe I'm low. I don't know. But anyway, sorry guys. We're gonna go forward with this. Okay. Here is from Patreon. I want to. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do real quick? I feel like I'm gonna have a seizure. So, I'm not gonna display what I'm gonna read. And I don't want to give everyone else a seizure. Um, let me.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, I want to thank Brandon Keith, all the supporters, of course, but Brandon really brings in the content. So, um, let me just make sure I had that there. Okay. So, oh, I totally hear you regarding silent voice for Gundam Double Zeta. Way better than Anime Janai. But
Oh yeah.
honestly, the whole Zeta and Double Zeta saga, I can't watch it because they both lack a proper dub that has continuity with the dubs for MSG and Char's Counterattack. I'm a dub guy. Can't do subs. And I will say I've learned to appreciate and prefer dubs myself. I can tolerate subs, but I need an English dub to experience an anime properly. And I agree. I think that's what and I think most people may not realize that that's what keeps them from watching things like Double Zeta, because it's already hard enough to kind of get over an aged anime, but when you add in having to read, I get it. That makes sense.
Well, and I mean that's when people say like that's how it's meant to be watched, someone who's watching a movie or a TV show in their native tongue is not trying to read what's going on screen while the action is happening. They're just
Yeah.
processing all that information at once. So while I do agree that dubs typically have some bad localization, um, and so subtitles tend to be a little bit more accurate to what's actually being said on screen, I think that the way it's meant to be watched is in a tongue that you understand.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, you're absolutely right because there's hand drawn animation you're supposed to be, like staring at, and with subtitles you have to read. And sometimes if it's a word that's in universe, you sometimes are taking more time on that, even if it's just a split second because you're gathering in that. So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I can't do subs. I can tolerate subs, but I need an English dub to experience an anime properly. The Ocean Group did such a perfect job on MSG and Char's Counterattack. Had they been able to return to work on Zeta and Double Zeta and had the original intro and outro music got licensed, I feel like I could really experience the intro music for both properly. The video game cinematics for Gundam Dynasty Warrior games 2 through 3 actually brought in the voice team that worked on MSG and CCA, and they also hired better voice actors for the Zeta and Double Zeta characters and good voices from the Zeta dub. Steven, what's your opinion? Do you agree, like, they did a good job with those games and the voices?
Oh yeah, fantastic. I actually love the voice actor who played Judo in the video games um
Oh, yeah, that's the
because
first time
Judo,
hearing. Yeah,
yeah, Judo is a character that like I don't think anyone's really heard a strong interpretation of him in English.
yeah.
And the voice actor that did the Dynasty Warriors games, I think, really nails it. Compared to like, for instance, um, Gundam versus Zeta Gundam, they do have an English voice actor in there for Judo because Judo is one of the secret unlockable characters. But it doesn't it's not quite as compelling.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think I need to go back then, and because I don't have in my head a judo voice. Well,
Yeah, isn't it
actually, I
weird when
do,
you
but I
think
don't
about
know what
that?
he's
You're like,
saying.
what does that character sound like to
Yeah,
me? I don't know.
yeah, because that kind of adds to like their to understand like a personality or an attitude. Like, it really helps with that. That is pretty cool because I just getting into Gundam. I would love to experience having watched Zeta or Double Zeta or whatever, or all the shows, and then playing the games as they come out and seeing the production value with voice acting. That would blow my mind. So,
Yeah.
um, let's see. Those games give us a sense of what a proper Ocean Group dub for Zeta and Double Zeta could have sounded like. What a missed opportunity. But back on topic. Songs like Men of Destiny in the Winter or songs like Eternal Wind from F99 or Beyond the Time from CCA. All very deep and powerful songs. Can't understand any of the lyrics, but understand the meaning and tone. Those songs really add to the shows. Even the James Bond-esque intro song for Hathaway was really, really good. Yeah, I liked that. And I didn't even catch that at first until someone on Reddit brought up it's like James Bond. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly fits the tone.
Yeah, I can't believe they thought of that. Like it's those things where I can't believe I'm about to say this as I want Star Wars to do, where they do things where you're like, yes, of course. But I don't know. I feel like I need to put $1 in a jar every time I reference Star Wars, but that's okay. Let's see. Can't
Don't
understand
make me
any.
tap the sign.
Oh yeah, there.
Gundam podcast, not Star Wars podcast. Or
Can't understand any of the lyrics, but understand the meaning and tone. Those songs really add to the shows. Even oh yeah, I already read that one, didn't I? Like I said, I can't look at Double O. Too dull, very slow paced. Even Steven admitted he fell asleep looking at Double O. But that second intro song, Ash Like Snow, is fire. I love G Gundam, but it's just too long. 50 plus episodes. It's too many episodes. And the intro songs, Fly in the Sky and Trust You Forever, don't fit the show in my view. Those songs are good, but way too emo. Now, not masculine enough like how the show is. If the show was shorter or broken down into arcs without filler and had more masculine intro music, it would be the perfect anime in my view.
I think that some of those intro tunes are a little dated, or they're a product of their time. Let me put it that way.
Exactly. I
Gundam Wing is like the just communication, or it is, yeah,
yeah,
just communication and rhythm of motion. Those two songs have no tonal fit to
yeah,
to the show itself, but they are so buried in that '90s trance techno
yeah.
era, and the same goes for Zeta for that matter. Like I actually prefer when they use the Ayug theme as the intro
Oh,
music for the English
I
dubs.
agree.
because it sounds like
Epic.
triumphant. It sounds
Yep.
like a Star Wars song. It
Yeah,
sounds
there you
like a
go.
John Williams production compared to compared to the original Zeta opening, which is basically an '80s pop song.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the Japanese intro, but I love what they did for the American one. Like and so that's funny with the G Gundam music. And guys, if you haven't heard, I mean, I know you got to be a supporter, but we do have the G Watch podcast where we went through. Yeah, the whole episode 1 and 2 is all of G Gundam because there's so much of it. But I got to say, I liked the songs; they were catchy. But yeah, it didn't seem to like fit or give me a feel. And that was, I guess, my kind of overall take. Yeah, you'll have to listen to what I thought about the show in general. But was there another point I was gonna grab on that? No. I
Well,
feel
and I
like
think
there's.
Brandon had mentioned Into the Sky, right? The unicorn, the series unicorn intro music.
It might have been from a previous,
Might like from a
from
previous
this
question,
previous
because
question.
I was
Yeah.
going to say that's another example of a song that's very much not in line with the
Yeah.
show, but is it's a pop song, and I love it. It sounds like Natalie Imbruglia. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. There's something about it over time. It works. So yeah, this other one from Brandon in regards to my comment about the possible cancellation of Gundam live action film. I mean, you could be right about them just putting it off for other reasons, but isn't it kind of odd that things went completely silent on Gundam live action around the time Cowboy Bebop being released and tanking hard with fans and critics with the complaint that it was too woke and too different from the source material? Now, I think a lot went on at Netflix at that time. They were gonna plan on going into the cinema, into theaters, and they kind of pulled back. And then they were like, "Wait a minute, we are." But I also don't think. I think it's Legendary that's really making the movie. And again, I think I've said Legendary is really so. Even if Netflix was like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that," Legendary is probably still going to do it.
They have enough invested in it, and
Yeah,
that director, the guy that did
Jordan Roberts.
Godzilla,
Yeah.
he's in on the Metal Gear movie. He's in
Yep.
on the Gundam movie. I don't think he's walking away from those projects. It,
And
and for better or worse, because like I said, I'm not particularly confident about either of those projects, but it's not
well,
my choice.
I forgot if I mentioned this, but Kakarot, when he was at, it was either, I don't think it was Anime Con, it might have been, I forget, Anime Con or Comic Con, there was a closed door session with the director explaining.
Yeah.
I totally forgot to bring that up, so that, and that was just this past July or August, so they're still working on it. Okay, and then let me go on this. Yeah, the Cowboy Bebop tanking hard with fans and critics with the complaint that it was too woke and too different from the source material. It felt like the series failing and made Legendary Netflix pump the brakes a bit. The hardest part about a Gundam film would be making the way the Gundam function seem possible in real life. In animation, they've got the science down and they've made it make sense while taking liberties with what could happen in real life and finding the gray area of reality for sci-fi fantasy, doing it in a way to be real for casual moviegoers would require changes. I love Gundam cockpits, but 2 gear sticks and a rectangular monitor and pedals not enough to make giant robot with arms and legs and head move in fluid motion like in the animation. It wouldn't make sense. I don't know if you're familiar with with the bad sci-fi robot action film. Ooh, watch out, Goose is gonna get on you. No, I'm joking. I think that's Goose's favorite movie.
Robot Jocks.
Yeah, but in terms of
Love Robot Jocks.
But in terms of cockpit controls and functionality, they would need to change it to be something like what is shown in that film. But such a change would cause outrage with fans. So I just feel that Cowboy Bebop cancellation and then the complete silence on Gundam live action development was a sign of them pumping the brakes. I mean, I guess the optics are there. That's true. They probably should be saying a little bit more about the Gundam thing. Something though, it would be very interesting because I do think when they, and maybe that's what's taking a long time, they're really trying to figure out how do we portray the robots on screen, right? So Pacific Rim, I think it's okay, but it never really grabbed me. It was an enjoyable watch. The other thing I like to think about too, and this director should do a Gundam live action movie. What's his name? The Evangelion guy that did Shin Godzilla. I forget his name, but a great director. Like you could film a Gundam movie like how Shin Godzilla was, because it's a lot of just. The camera angles are very classic. They're not like computer-generated camera angles. I think if they stick with that, like the 2014 Godzilla by Gareth Edwards, Rogue One. Yeah, I think it's possible. Or I'd like them to try. You know what that reminds me of? back in the first-person shooter era of the early 2000s, we had Call of Duty. It was just World War II. And it
Yeah.
made sense because, oh yeah, you're just shooting those type of guns. That makes more sense. And I was like, there's no way they could ever do modern. That's just too crazy for the type of fast-paced gameplay. But it happened, and everyone was able to do it. And I don't know if I'm alone on this, but yeah, back then it was like, how could they really do a modern game as fast as Call of Duty? Because the guns are faster, and they did it, and it worked. And I think sometimes we don't realize things can work when they really do. You know.
Yeah.
Final question: does Gundam contradict itself? All the shows have an anti-war message in them. However, the point of the show is to sell toys and merch to teens and kids. With the animation story are basically war machines. Now, I forget if I read that before. That sounded familiar because I think my answer was, at least with a show like Gundam, it's you can kind of have fun with that inner urge we have for war and battle and fighting, but we're not actually really killing someone, so we can get it out that way, and
Yeah.
through the toys. I don't know.
Well, and I've said before, there's that documentary that, I don't know exactly what it was called, but I'll put a link to it in the chat if I can dig it up. But I reference it all the time because in the original show notes that Tomino went over with Yasuhiko and Kunio Uguara, there was never this like anti-war message that people have. I think that's something that people have kind of imposed on Gundam after the fact, and Tomino himself has kind of said like, "Oh yeah, it was anti-war," but it's like the theme of the show was literally freedom and duty were the two words on the cover of his
Mm,
Gundam Bible. And if you think about it, like the story of Amuro is one about duty more than anything else.
yeah.
It's not portraying necessarily an anti-war message, but like when war is appropriate, as opposed to, you know, killing for the sake of killing or killing to protect other people. And even Lala calls him out by the end of the show, says like, you're out here fighting, but you have no one to protect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point because I feel like inherently, I would think by default we're anti-war. So when we're portraying war and stuff, a lot of times it's not glorified where it's like, wow, cool, let's go
Yeah,
nuke
we don't want to be
people.
jingoistic.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really where this is the reality of it, where it's not a good thing, but at least we get good characters out of it because they're put in these stressful situations. You know.
Absolutely.
And then from Ian, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Looking back at mobile suit designs and seeing some inspiration, whether from the Granddaddy to the Alex or seeing some design influence in the Epion from the Master Gundam. It's interesting to see how Gundam has evolved from series to series. My question for you is this. Like Amuro designing the new Gundam, if you could design your own Gundam, would you mix and match parts like a Gunpla kit or just from the ground up make your own 100% design? Keep up the good work. Looking forward to all the future content coming. P.S. Keep on Gundabbing. I'm glad my kids didn't see that. Um, uh,
At least they didn't catch you floss dancing.
oh, well, they have. I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't want to get. Okay. Anyway, no, that's a good one because I would like to design one from the ground up, and I've even thought about that myself. Like, how can I make my own design, but not really just look like I'm modifying a design? Because it is fun to modify a design like a Gunpla. It is fun to make stuff up like that, but something completely new. Have you thought about that before?
yeah. And I think that if I were going to design a Gundam, it would be something kind of like the Moon Gundam, where you have what is essentially a Xeon design. And I would probably, start with a ground up type of design that starts from a Xeon
Base.
curved angles,
Yeah.
like maybe exaggerated features kind of thing, and then maybe slap a V fin on it after the fact.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of like it when that happens, and sometimes, yeah, there's some other suits like with the GPO4. I think where there's those times where they've kind of crossbred.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And another one from Brandon. I also want to thank you both for this platform. There really aren't many friendly places online for American Gundam
Oh,
fans to interact about Gundam. I think there are a lot of closet Gundam fans that don't have any places to go to express themselves. I have had too many bad experiences with Gundam message boards. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. And I'm glad you You
Yeah.
just throw everything because that's kind of like the idea is we're all excited about Gundam. We want to talk about it. Something Steven brought up on his stream yesterday. I really liked is Steven how you were talking about. It's more of like friends because sometimes community nowadays, kind of like the word woke, can kind of get used incorrectly and
Yeah,
almost like
there's some baggage that comes with that.
baggage. That's a good way to put it because people will refer to communities like a toxic community, and I think the biggest thing, yeah, here with Gundam Explained, it's like, yeah, really making friends. It really does seem like that. We're all just hanging out, chilling, talking about Gundam. Yeah, stuff like that. So thanks, Brandon. And then Goose. Hey guys, thought I would make up for last week's questions restriction. Steven, I want you to tell me your favorite version of the Zeta Gundam. I know there are like 5 models, so let's get a top 5 on that. And for Adam, what version of Hazel is your favorite? And let's get a top 5.
Okay.
Well, I will let you think about that because I think I could answer mine real quick. So with the Hazel, my favorite is actually in order from like, and I don't know how to explain it. It's how like the Hazel has like its own evolutionary path. Like Woundwort, I think is like a later. Like I like them like in that order. Like the Hazel standard, that's my favorite, and then I like the casual or the evolutions after that.
Like basically 1 through 5,
Yeah, exactly.
which I think you know what, like the Gap Plant Fiver is in there, right?
Yep.
So there you go. The
Yep.
Fiver is
Yep. There
no,
you go.
no.
Yeah. There's another one. The Hazenthly, I think is also a variant. I think is pretty cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, with the
I mean,
Zetas
all of
are.
that Advance of Zeta stuff is just awesome.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I love it. But we know you're a Zeta guy, so
I am indeed a Zeta guy. So I guess if I had to rank them, let's start with number 5. I would say that the Zeta Plus C1 or the Unicorn version, both of
yeah,
them are just that plain gray Zeta Plus. Kind of underwhelming there. Nothing too
underwhelming. But
fancy
would
going
you
on.
say it fits perfect for like a standard mass production like craft? Like if there was a whole row of them, it just looks good that
I
way.
think that the Zeta Plus, that gray variant definitely looks more like a mass produced Zeta Gundam than say the mass production Zeta
Yeah,
Gundam that
yeah.
that you do see in the timeline. Number 4, I guess we'd be looking at the Zeta 3.
Okay.
Um, let's see, number 3, we'd probably be looking at the Hummingbird, which is that white and blue variant. It's a Zeta Plus, but it has parts from the S Gundam booster type. So it's got like these massive thrusters and
Oh
some
yeah,
giant propellant tanks on the shoulders and stuff
love
like
that.
that. Number 2 would be the Rigazi from Char's Counterattack. I know that the chat is gonna bury me alive for that because nobody likes the Rigazi, but
Oh,
I love the
I love it.
Rigazi.
I love
Yeah,
the Rigazi.
I thought it made a lot of sense, the sort of design direction that they went with it.
Yeah,
Um,
and the
and then
coloring.
yeah,
I feel like that works. It's almost like the best of both worlds when it comes to like what the original Gundams to Zeta had,
oh
color
yeah.
wise.
Well, and it's kind of ironic that it's like the whole idea of the Zeta Gundam was we're going to take the flying armor and we're going to make it part of the Gundam, and then what is it? 13 years later, we're going to take the flying armor out of the Zeta Gundam and make it its own thing again.
Oh yeah, yeah. What do you think about the custom, Rigazi custom?
The custom's pretty sweet. I
Yeah,
love my space AK,
yeah, yeah. I love it.
which again, we'll bring up Andor and their
Yeah,
space AKs.
yeah. Another space egg. Yeah, yeah. Cool,
But
cool.
yeah, number one's got to be the classic OG Zeta.
Yeah, it is. It is strange how cool those designs are. Like the Zeta, the Mark II, and the OG Gundam. Like as cool as other ones are, you just those classics are just well
Yeah,
done.
there's something iconic about them, and I just don't think that they've captured that same magic um,
Yeah,
in modern design philosophy.
yeah. Um, Zionic Shadow is saying Hazel custom high mobility type from GBO2. That is an excellent one because I love high mobility type
Yeah,
stuff. So a Hazel like that, excellent. Um, oh, and Zionic Shadow is also saying he has an idea for Camille's custom Zeta Gundam if he joined Neo Zeon. Okay, you're gonna have to post that. in
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
discords, either
absolutely.
mine or
Because I
Steven's.
have my version that I'm still working on. That
Nice.
I need to fix the backpack because I melted it with
Yeah.
acetone.
Wow. Um. Okay. Moving on. If you could bring back any UC, and this is from Sway, by the way.
Hey, what
If
up,
you could
Sway?
bring back any UC Gundam character, dead or alive, to return in the future animated projects, who would it be? I would choose Rumble Raw. Okay, Steven, on the count of three, we're gonna say who it is. Okay,
All right,
1, 2, 3. Emma.
Ortega.
Oh,
No,
okay. I thought
no,
you.
that's actually I was getting a little memey there because obviously the black tri stars are great, but yeah, I mean Emma,
That's why I think it
man.
was that last Gundam Warriors. You can play the mission where she doesn't die, and I do that. I purposely
Oh yeah,
go to
that's
that sector. And
that's priority number one, and that's actually one of the fun things about like the Dynasty Warriors Gundam series is that it's like oh, Emma's in trouble. You're gonna go save Emma,
yeah.
and no matter how fast you get there, you don't end up saving her. And
Well, you
um,
do though. Well, or it's a certain one, but then like she ends up dying later anyway, like another way. It's almost
right,
like
it's like
you're
a cutscene death.
delaying the story in a way. Yeah. But
But
I've only
again,
played through Reborn. I haven't played through the first three, so I could be missing some stuff there.
now again, that's where I think games are missing the mark. Where the old Gundam versus Zeta Gundam, you had that timeline mode where it was like if you play through the Char mission without Garma getting killed in New York, then you unlock a timeline where Garma survives, and then it's like, okay, well, if Garma survives, does he go with Char or does he join Dozle? And then you have like these alternate timelines of at the end of the day, it doesn't amount to much because it's just different missions that you unlock. But I thought that was
That's
so cool when I'm playing through, 300 plus missions, and I'm just like, whoa,
yeah.
like
That
Amuro doesn't get put under house arrest, and Amuro gets the Mark II instead of Camille. Like, this is insane.
does that happen in one of them?
Yeah, that's one of the options.
Do you
So,
happen to know which one? Which is it? The latest one, or is it a?
oh no, this is the PS2 game, the
Oh, which one?
Gundam versus Zeta Gundam.
Gundam versus Zeta Gundam. Man, everyone keeps talking about that one. I think I'm
Oh,
gonna
it's so good,
I'm
man.
gonna have to play it because I love that idea of being able to recreate. So yeah, even though it doesn't really mean anything, it's just fun to kind of explore that in an official means. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Sway's being Ramba Rawl, I think, is a good one, especially how Origin really like humanized him in a way to where he almost seemed like he was really a good guy, especially him and his family, how they took care of the kids. You know?
That's something that from the original series onward, they've always portrayed a lot of the Xeon soldiers as being very chivalrous. I
Yeah,
guess is the they have this strict code of honor. It reminds me a lot of the way that people talk about like Robert E. Lee. How like, oh, Robert E. Lee didn't actually want to fight for the Confederacy. It's just like he was on the wrong side, and it's
uh,
like, all right, well,
yeah,
you
I
know.
guess that could happen. Yeah, that's true. You could be caught up, and then just that's your world. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, okay, and then Brandon with another one. I think a video tribute should be made for voice actor Michael Kopsa, the original dub voice of Char
Yeah,
Aznavour in the MSG series dub, and the Char's counterattack dubs. He also voiced Char in many of the video games too. You know what? I
he
bet
did.
if I had been into Gundam longer, that would have maybe affected me more, where I would have made a video. But it's a good idea. I mean, I'll always remember the main actor of G Savior giving him a shout out too when he passed, and I
There you
loved
go.
that. Was so warming. Um, all right, something I wanted to jump to real quick. So I am going to. Oh, help me! I was trying to share my screen. Oh, interesting. I killed the browser, and it left the image without it flashing. Gustav Karl joins the battle. Um, that's pretty cool because I think that is a sick looking suit that they made, and I don't know if and you let me know, Hatter. Is it cool because of how chonky he is, or is it just cool because it just looks cool?
I mean, it's got to be the chonk factor, right?
Yeah,
And
I
ironically, I think that it's designated as a high mobility type mobile suit. Um, I didn't know this until I saw it on the wiki, and so I don't consider that an authoritative source. but I'm pretty sure that it's designated as like a faster, lightweight unit. And I'm like, in what world?
Yeah, Zionic, you might be able to confirm that because I know you tend to know a lot about the GVO2 suits. Oh, and Neon Wave is saying
And,
Brandon Elliott, Mark from G Savior, started his acting career by being in the music video for Life is a Highway. Not a joke. He's the guy driving the convertible throughout the video. Oh, I'm going to check that out.
hilarious.
Speaking of, and because I don't want to get anyone a seizure, I'm going to. Speaking of things, this is kind of unrelated, but I just discovered a movie today made in 1995 starring Jet Li where he's a bodyguard for a martial arts actor that's played by a Jackie Chan impersonator. And it's like you're watching this
It's
guy bumbling
fantastic.
around like he's complaining about China and wants to go to Hollywood, and then Jet Li's just trying to protect him, and it's amazing. I never knew that existed. So, yeah, just a little anecdote.
That is like a classic buddy cop style film that
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so I tell you, I am going. If anyone gets a seizure, email me. I'll forward it on to whatever they're called. So Vincent Gleissner. All right, so you guys can see what
Vinny
he looks
G.
like real quick. I'm gonna then move away from this flashing nightmare, uh, um, so I can read this to you guys. So let me go back here. Okay. Um, so yeah, I learned about this guy because what's really cool about the SD Gundam G Generation Genesis game, which is a long title, is it has like all the UC like timeline and this mainly the side stories from the 1 Year War and after that actually were like video games first, like from the early '90s on the Super Famicom up until probably Dreamcast or maybe Dreamcast or PS2 too. And that's where I learned about this missing link. So, in 0079, Vincent was 18. And, okay, he's a pilot belonging to the Principality of Xeon's Assault Mobile Forces Special Contingent Marcosius Corps. He was a member of the G
That's a
Platoon led
mouthful.
by Doug Schneid. And didn't Doug Schneid have like an Efreet or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, one of the 8 Freets.
That's right, yeah. Okay. He was living with his mother inside 3, but was removed from the elite course when his mother was suspected of being in league with the Federation. And wasn't that because his dad was trying to call her to make sure she was okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. So
that's pretty
his
sad.
dad was I guess technically a Federation defector.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting story though. However, because of his excellent performance and training, he was transferred to the Marcosius Corps. Well, and it's not uncommon for Xeon and Federation to hire people that aren't trustworthy or that they wouldn't trust anyway. Whether that's prisoners or whatever, and then put them in special missions all the time anyway.
Yeah, you got that like Dirty Dozen
Yeah,
style, like Suicide Squad.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. They really need to double down on that Suicide Squad aspect with a Gundam show, where it's
Oh yeah.
like almost like Power Rangers. I don't know. Why I said that. Where it's like 5 people that you just follow all the time, and they're all crazy, and yeah, that'd be
I
great.
mean, if they just took the Missing Link storyline and made that, um,
Oh,
I,
does it
I
kind
think,
of play out like that?
well, yeah, the Slave Wraith Corps, the
Yeah, because they're.
Gleissner's dad
Yep,
basically is like the Dirty Dozen.
that's
And
right.
Gleissner himself kind of has a storyline that I would put that storyline on par with like Amuro, you
Yeah,
know, in
it,
terms of main character syndrome. He's got this tragic backstory,
right.
doesn't know who his father is. Yeah,
Yeah, all the drama that about your past, your parents, and relationships, being tugged, around from both sides.
yeah.
He has the earnestness of a boy of his age, but his intelligence works in the right direction, and he has the earnestness of a boy of his age. That's like saying I have the age of a boy of my age. I don't know, but his intelligence works in the right direction, and he has a well balanced personality. He also has a strong sense of responsibility and a gentle nature at heart. In the beginning, he dreamed of becoming an ace, but the hellish battlefield gave him the strength to continue fighting against reality. He has a high sense of mobile suit control, and his ability to flexibly come up with the right answer regardless of the battlefield is his strong suit, and his broad perspective has been recognized by Doug Schneid, who has been eyeing him as a potential commander. So, during the Battle of Baoku, he encounters the RX-80PR Pale Rider, which has been giving him a hard time so far, and with the help of Guy Helmuth and Liberio Linke, he is able to disable it. But both of them are killed in battle. He learns that Chloe Crosay, the pilot of the Pale Rider, was a young girl, and that she was only one of the victims of the war, and protects her. That's weird. That she was only one of the victims of the war. Do you know what they mean by that?
So,
Just in terms of like her being used for the suit?
yeah, I think
Maybe that's
the
what
the
they mean here.
phrasing of that's weird, but I think it's like saying just a victim of the war, not just one of the victims of the war, as
Oh, okay.
opposed to yeah.
I see that. Okay, and protects her. After that, he continues to fight with her in the AU and Neo Zeon army, but sometimes he remembers the resentment he felt. Oh, yeah, sometimes he remembers the resentment he felt when his comrades were killed and thinks about shooting Chloe's machine from behind on the battlefield. Yeah, that's something I remember from the story is he had this strong feeling about that. However, he never does so and treats her kindly out of compassion for her. After joining up with the newborn Neo Zeon in 90, he received the new AMS 119 Gyaradoga for practical testing. That's a cool little story there. Together with Chloe now piloting a repaired and heavily modified Pale Rider, now designated the AMX 018 Hades Toadstritter, Vincent engaged in combat with remnants of a Neo Zeon splinter faction that included Vincent's former Macosius squad mate, Anna Rose Rosenheim, and the repaired NZ000 Queen Mansa. Anna Rose held an intense vendetta against Chloe for the death of Albert Bell and many of her Marcosius squad mates at the end of the One-Year War, and engaged in a fierce battle with Chloe. This battle ultimately culminated with the destruction of both their machines. However, both women managed to survive the battle with relatively few injuries and were rescued after the battle by Vincent and his father, Travis Kirkland, who interfered with the conflict while searching for his son. After the battle, all four pilots were finally able to resolve their respective conflicts with each other and left the battlefield to live a relatively peaceful life together. Chloe settled down with Vincent, eventually giving birth to his child. So you were right about that being quite a story. Is there a manga of this by chance? Let's see.
There must be because they really don't explore a whole lot of that in the side stories video game.
Hmm.
It's you play through the 1 Year War aspect of it, and then you have maybe one or two missions in the Neo Zeon era.
Yeah,
But
there's.
yeah, Zeonic Shadow says in the chat the Pale Rider Vincent Gleissner type, which is so sick when Gleissner does use the Pale Rider for a brief period. He's got two Gelgoog double Naginatas.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
oh yeah,
Okay, that's
but
neat.
that you don't get to do that in the video game either.
Well, I put in the chat a link to the manga, so that does exist. I'm gonna have to try to get a hold of it because that is a cool story, and also that those suits are sick in it. Anyway, and the Battle of Abaoku, is that referenced 0081, the game? Like, do they ever have animation? I might have asked you this yesterday of Vincent.
Oh yeah, well, so you actually do. Well, and I think in G Generation Genesis too, you actually play the Battle of
Yeah,
Baoku.
but I wonder
Um,
if there's like animation because sometimes the video games have awesome animation. Do they ever have any of Vincent in any of his suits?
nah,
No. Oh.
unfortunately, that's one of the weaknesses of the side stories video game is that it doesn't have any character animations. All the cinematics are all in mobile suit,
Ah.
which is kind of awkward because sometimes, and especially because the entire game's in Japanese, you're not quite sure who's talking when. So it's just
Yeah.
like you have a Zaku talking to another Zaku, and it's just
Yeah, that's why playing that game has been mindless for me. I mean, I've only played through the Federation stuff so far, or I beat the Federation, and I think I just started Xeon. But it's like it's really hard to really understand everything that's happening.
yeah, sometimes you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing. It's like, am I supposed to be protecting this? Am I supposed to be destroying that?
I know there was. I think there was one time I was like failing the mission, and I was like, "How am I failing this?" And I didn't understand. And then eventually I figured it out. But okay, I am going to try. I'm going to try to play a voicemail that was sent. Let me open that up. and it is from Robert. He did send two, but one of them, Robert, it was about a party. He just wanted to let everyone know he was going to a Christmas party. So,
No, congratulations.
yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
sounds cool. Okay, I hope you all hear it.
Hey Adam, hey Steven. Another podcast question popped into my head during last week's podcast. So I'm recording it today on Monday, the 21st of November. Between Marita Cruz in her Kshatriya and Suletta Mercury in her big sister Ariel, who would you think would win in a cross Gundam universe fight? Also, have those in chat during the podcast answer this question too. Robert Westfall, signing out.
Okay, so first of all, did you hear that, Stephen?
I did, yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well, hopefully in chat you guys did too, and post what you think. So I guess the idea. Oh, and Jedi Sayla already with it. Suletta would win because she has never been beaten. Okay. Well, that's
true.
actually pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you think, Stephen?
I've got to hand it to Suletta. I mean, the Gundarms seem to be a little bit more powerful than even the toughest new types. And what's a rinky-dink little funnel going to do against some of the more powerful remote weapons that the Aerial's got?
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. I was looking at what are some badass moments with the Kshatriya, and a lot of it was when it was fighting those Jagans, I think they were at the beginning, and she's shooting out, and it's just like tearing things up. And then, okay, what's comparable? Well, the Aerial has those bits that could be made out of children that are flying around, so and that just decimated that guy's.
My money's on the dead kids.
Yeah. And not only did she destroy that guy's suit, but without killing, so there's precision. So
Yeah.
yeah, Suletta might be the one, even though I love Marita Cruz, her storyline, the Kshatriya is sick. And then she had the Banshee for a little bit, and that was cool.
She did.
Yeah.
So you gotta wonder, is Marita Cruz more dangerous behind the helm of the Kshatriya or the Banshee?
I would say, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, I'm just going to say Banshee because I feel like that's when she was able to be herself, right? Or am I misremembering?
I think it might be vice versa.
Vice versa.
Because the Banshee
Okay.
is the one that kind of messes with the pilot's head.
Okay.
Because it
So
definitely messed up pretty bad.
Okay. Because I remember, there was once she kind of got back to herself, I felt like, that whatever she's piloting then, that's, okay. From Ian, a podcast is getting more attention when a sex bot comes in trying to get someone to click on the link. Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Thanks, Ian. I had no idea.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to clear my browser history.
Jedi
Sayla killing me with that.
I'll
Mary
do you one
Suletta.
better. How would the Aerial fare against the Unicorn when the later's NTD system overrides the Aerial's self-defense systems? Okay, that's if you put that stuff in consideration, by the end of the series, maybe we'd get a better idea. And then, let's see. Neon Wave is saying she's not one, she's flawed and only OP because of her bits. Hey, that's inappropriate. No, I'm joking. Without them, she's just a decent pilot who can still lose to a more skilled pilot. She almost lost to Ghoul after all. And then Ian is saying, I'll say that the Aerial would win because of the protagonist power. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Lucas
that's
saying,
one
now
of the
that's
things
a
about
fight
Witch
I
from
would want to
Mercury, right?
see. Sayla, although I would like to see the Aerial versus the Phoenix. Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that's it, unless anyone in chat is like, Adam, you forgot this or that, but I think I really covered everything I wanted to cover. I would just end with, oh yeah, if you're a supporter, we're voting on the movie night, so we're going to have that come about soon this month. And from that, that's usually how we figure out what we're going to do for G-Watch. So also as a supporter, you can partake in the G-Watch. We'll kind of do a chair rotation. So if you're interested, just reach out and we'll see about that. Trying to think. I think that's really it. All the links in the description for everything, even Steven's page, And he goes live on Wednesdays, Whiskey Wednesdays, and then this is on Thirsty Thursdays. I'm gonna have to come up with a graphic for that.
There you go.
Oh, Brian's in and Chili saying he's on episode 13 on G-Reco. How are you liking it so far? And Ian is saying Endless Waltz, second best Christmas movie ever. Lucas Garrett saying you guys covered everything. Well, that's it then. If Lucas says it. Actually, speaking of
I'll
Lucas,
take that.
I'm going to read this on the next podcast. Remind me, Lucas. There was an awesome reply he had to my video about the brainwave new type stuff. So I thought that was pretty good content too. But and Lucas is rewatching 0083. That's a good one. Okay. Well,
Hey,
cool.
well, Brandon Keith endorses that decision.
Oh yeah, that's right.
0083 or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That is his favorite. That's nice of you to remember that. But yeah,
I remember everything about my friends.
yeah, you're pretty good at that. You are. You're a true friend, aren't you? But well, Steven, anything to mention or bring up? I guess you just released the Patreon perks for this month, right?
Yes. So I didn't have time to finish the old high mobility Zaku kit today. So the 3D model kit of the day is the Mudrock Gundam. So if you're into 3D printing, you can check that out on the Patreon. I even included the blend file so that if you want to repose it, it's kind of in a standard like cannons firing pose, but if you wanted to pose it into something cooler, you can do that. And then I also posted about that tabletop or video game stat conversion formula that I developed for you game developers out there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's good stuff. So yeah, check out the links in the description for that, and all the supporters too that are in the tier where they can share an ad. You can see the ads below here and in the description. But I think that's it. So everyone have a good weekend. Can't wait to do this again. Can't wait to make the videos that are going to come out next week. So until then.